You can actually see it now. It's a dick. It's in the shape of a dick. I need to capture this before it goes away. In contrast, if we put the power of balls, I mean, it's similar, but that's because balls as an exponent in this plane isn't as strong. But if we use the stronger base of balls to the power of cock, it just explodes, right? Look how it's very large and spread out now, because it's an exponential. Well, balls is the base to the... Oh, sorry, this... I forgot, this is balls times balls. Balls is the power of cock. Yeah. Right? Now, if we look at something like a power exponential, balls to the power of ball, we get balls to the balls. Yeah, it's like a black hole. It's becoming so dense. Right? We have the numbers. 1,000 balls. 10,000 balls. This is as many balls as we can have. Now, if we take the power and just look at pure balls, there's a keypad of zeros. Now that's a lot of balls. And change them all to nines, and we can get the most amount of balls possible, which is this. But this isn't necessarily as interesting as you would think. Now, on the other hand, if we change some of the nines to sixes, you get much more interesting patterns, much more abstract, much more powerful. Right, look how spread out this is. This is huge. This is actually huge. The power of 69 relative to balls enhances it greatly. Now, we'll also have to take into account that you can have 69 to the power of balls. The power of 69 is, again, like even bigger because exponentials are larger than multiplications, right? The balls to the power of 69 is big. Hypothetically, I think balls would be greater than 69, so using that as an exponent might make it even more big. Very interesting. Now, another thing we can look at is the concept of head in relation to cock versus balls.
What the fuck?
So if you have head times cock,
sorry,
we're left with not a lot. Partly this is just because the head gets a lot out of the cock, but also it's just not as potent. But if we have head on the balls, we see it's still small, and it's very different. It's a very different kind of head. Very different kind of pleasure derived from the balls than from the cock. Now, if we have head times, and I'll have to put brackets in here, balls and cock. If you have head with ball and cock, we get much larger bodies here, right? You see that? And it's almost like you see the one, and then there's another one inside it, and then another one inside it, and the middle one, that bright pink, is where the magic is really happening. It's as though God himself is trying to tell us that head times balls and cock is in fact the answer. But we can't be sure of this because we have to consider other possibilities. For example, head times ball and dick. Personally, I think this is less interesting, but some researchers in the field still, you note the same central pink glow right in here. Given that this stays the same between dick and cock, we assume that this must be a proponent of balls. This sort of energy, this force, is still largely unexplained, but at least we know what its source is. Definitely the balls. It's almost as though this is an arrow, right? And you've got, or like a bow, and then you can't see the arrow, but you see the tip of the arrow, and that's the balls. The balls are just the tip of the arrow for them. Now, another big discussion is often related to boobs or ass. Now, you can start by looking at just the key differences. Kind of one boob, not a lot going on. Two boobs, we're getting somewhere. This is interesting. You can actually see the two distinct shapes. Note how one is bigger than the other. That's the left boob. Can zoom in a bit here. You see, it's almost flowery. It's nature. It's natural, right? Think about breastfeeding. It's a natural practice, right? Boobs. All right. Now, let's look at. Not much going on. Exactly. This is reference to how your girlfriend is flat. That is a little bit more interesting. It's much more spread out. That is where this gets deep.
Literally.
Yes. Now, given as, if you do add dat in front of it, it's not very big, but it becomes very interesting, very potent. Yeah. Now again, though, looking at butts versus ass, and then boob, right, versus tits. Now, tits and ass are more in the same field, while boobs and butt are in the same field as far as like potency, right? Now, if we start bringing in other words such as knockers, this is where things get intense.
What about mommy milkers?
Now this is actually, again, well, I know we talked about head and ball and dick, but mommy milkers have also been postulated to be the key to something greater. Well, actually, let's start with, when we look at mommy, important, right? Balls. Mommy is similar to balls. This is evidence to how cum is stored in the balls.
How does that relate to mommy?
Well, you're born out of your balls, and then your mommy gives birth to you, right? They both give birth to you. Thus, they're the same. Now, if we look at milkers, start with just the one. Very long, but a singular, right? One long milker. It actually repeats as well, right? It's recursive. If we add the S, milkers, much more complicated. But now finally we add mommy in front of milkers. And this is where shit gets real. Look at that. Cosmos right here. It's actually been postulated that this glow right here in mommy milkers is the center of the universe.
Whoa.
Since mommy milkers may be the key to immortality, but humankind has not been able to discover this just yet. Now if we times mommy by milkers, now we have multiple mommies with milkers. Now, this is no longer the cosmos. This is more of an abstract art piece, really. But note the subtleties in the character. Again, we see the same theme of the bow. See the bow with the invisible arrow?
Yeah, I do. Is this like a reference to like Cupid or something?
It might be. The key to love has also been postulated to be mommy milkers. Now, mommy power of milkers ends up yielding somewhat similar results. Again, the bow shape and the sort of invisible arrow and the abstractness after the bow. What is the bow shooting? But we notice, again, because the balls aren't here, we don't see the pink tip on the arrow. That's only caused by the balls. Fascinating stuff. Now, I'm not sure if I'll have room, but it's possible to combine mommy milkers with balls. This yields something similar to what we would expect. Well, it's like the planet. You see the balls, you also see the bow and the arrow, but now you still from that balls, you've got that same pink glow from before, right? This is a consistent phenomenon with balls. You can see it's like the shape of an arrowhead, right? Appreciate. Now we can also look at various practices. For example, I know we examined head, but if we spell it out right, blow, job. So we see blow, job. Jobs are important.
Jobs are pretty important, it looks like.
See, it's like the world, as in for most people, their job is their world.
And like the circle is going around the world, like how jobs make the world go round.
Yes, precisely. Now we see blowjobs, it's the same thing. This is reference to how blowjobs make the world go round. See, if we put in hand job, this is not the same thing. Hand jobs do not make the world go round. Yeah, not exciting, not a fan. Now, boob jobs, on the other hand, they're big, but they don't have potency, right? As opposed to mommy milkers, right? They're unnatural. Oh, what else can I cover in this lecture? Of course. Come. This is come. Take a look. It won't be our last time saying it in this course, especially not if you want to get good grades.
It also has the arrow shape.
It does. Well, this is reference to cum is stored in the balls. We can actually see balls, cum, makes the world go round. Similar to blowjobs. This is because blowjobs, you get cum out of the balls. You can even know the implication. Balls implies cum. This is more complicated and very related to prepropositional logic, which we'll get into next. This is just the introductory.
You teach a whole course dedicated to this specific concept.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is an upper. Com is covered in third year class. CUM 148.
No, it would be 348.
Oh, sorry, of course, yeah. Pardon me. I like how I can just hear Ben eating. Are you enjoying the lecture, Ben?
What? Yeah, I am taking notes.
Do you have any questions, Ben?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's all very clear.
Good. Now, yes.
Are we going to be talking about cum on the midterm?
Yes. So you'll actually have your. Start actually examining that word. Mid. That's pretty mid. Gonna be honest. It's exactly as it sounds. Term. Big. It's important. It's a whole term, right? Put them together, you have a mid-term. Now this is like the term, except now it's a mid, so it's not as cool. Once you add cum into the equation, again we can see the world again. Because cum makes the world go round.
Man, you add cum to everything and it just makes things more interesting.
We can also see this is recursive again. We've got smaller and smaller iterations of the world. until it fades into something that we can barely even make out. Again, notice the pink glow associated with the balls but it's not as strong without actually having the balls, but because we have cum, which is the derivation of balls, right? D over dx cum is equal to balls. Likewise, the integral, d over dx of balls is equal to cum. The integral of cum is equal to balls. It's getting a little bit into arithmetic. I hope you paid attention to calculus. You can actually use the exponent rule, and that d over dx of balls squared is 2 balls to the power of 1, and then we use the chain rule, so it's 2 balls to the power of 1 times cum. We can actually take a look at that, what that looks like. We have balls, 2 balls to the power of 1, which is technically implied, times cum. This is the derivation of balls squared, which makes sense if we look at balls squared. Right? This is much more spread out. We derive it, we get the graph with its slope. Again, notice the very important center, the balls, perhaps the meaning of life. And then we derive that to get a much more sort of fixed explanation of all these dots. Right? The derivation of these spread out dots is more focused lines, which makes sense in how derivatives work. Balls squared. Now, you might be wondering what the derivation of cum is. Well, that would naturally be babies.
And they're cringe. They're like not really present.
Yeah, see? And that's like, right, each time you derive a function, it gets smaller, right? That's why you see balls is larger than the cum is larger babies. Again, similar, like a good example would be, so cum squared, the derivative of that is 2 babies to the power, cum power 1 times babies. A little bit more interesting, because this is the derivative of cum squared. It's basically the derivative, it's like a larger version of the derivative of cum. Which we have a little bit left of the glow of our balls in the center of these spheres. But it's not as potent because it's already been derived twice. And of course the derivative, or the integral of cum squared would be balls, 1/3 balls. Now, and then we'd have to do some calculation. We're not going to do the whole thing. I don't want to have to bust out the old substitution integration by parts. Too much work. But, yeah. We can see, because this is basically equal to babies, again, we can see that it's not actually a lot. 1/3 of balls cubed is not a lot. But balls cubed on its own is a lot more. But still more than balls squared. So from the powers, you can see we get larger and larger versions of the ball. Balls.
What happens as balls to the n approaches infinity, Sensei?
Oh, so the limit of n to int balls of n.
Oh.
Well, so what you can see, and this actually makes sense. So as it approaches infinity, it's spread out. It's a lot less dense, but it's much larger in its overall volume, right?
Oh, right.
And with the clouds of particles. That makes sense. Were you here when we talked about the power exponentials, Ben? Like balls to the balls?
I don't think so.
You missed a lot of it, pretty much, right? Balls to the balls balls. Yeah, the big discussion was with balls and cock, right? Balls
Yeah.
is greater than cock, but dick is greater than cock, but not as great as balls. We can see this obviously, right? If we take cock or balls divided by cock, it's pretty big because
Right.
balls is greater than cock, but cock divided by balls, nothing, right?
Oh, okay.
It's like 1 over as n approaches infinity, right?
Ah, right. Approaches
Because
0.
balls is just so much bigger than cock.
Damn.
But you can see if we look at dick over balls, it's a little bit more.
Okay.
Dick is bigger than cock.
That makes sense.
Were you there for the discussion about mommy milkers?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You just need to make sure you're up to speed, of course.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Anyways, I think that concludes our lecture for today, children.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Professor Perkins.
What is our readings this week?
Yeah.
If you scroll up a bit, there's a couple of things. They're all already posted in my channel. One is it's titled LMFG Hello Samples Download.
Okay.
The other one, there will be a Wikipedia page. It's not actually on my channel, linked directly, but it's there. I want you to look into ethnic cleansing,
I got it.
as well as what's called star seeds. It's a Reddit r/starseed.
Okay.
Reddit. We're learning about spirituality of the cosmos and how it relates to important life concepts such as balls, dick, mommy milkers, cock. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the key terms I want you to focus on. You should have this written down in notes, definitions.
Got it.
Think about derivatives and what sort of shapes they form. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
Professor, when is
Question.
the midterm?
Oh, the mediocre term. Yes, of course. Let's see. What's the date? March 28th. I have to write it first. When I'm done, I'll be sure to send it all your way. It's gonna be due probably the Friday after next, April the 8th.
Got it.
I'll
Awesome.
write that in my channel so you know.
Thank you, Professor Schunzer.
Thank you, Professor. See you on Wednesday.
Bye, class.
Bye.